Hi, Vincent.
Hello.
We're live.
Oh, we're live?
Yes.
Well, we'll start about how OV is not allowed on my streams anymore.
That's what you said, wasn't it?
Yes, he's not allowed on my streams anymore because I would have let him back on my stream, but he keeps doing this thing. I have to keep taking my streams down with him because he uses words that get the streams banned. And he does it all the time, and he's just not very thoughtful and doesn't really care if other people's streams get taken down.
He's
Um,
mostly drunk, isn't he?
well, probably is when he's drunk that he's doing it, but it's just I've seen him do it to you too. He just doesn't care, about other people's dream viability. And then he started making fun of my husband. And even when I
I'm
told
sorry. Yeah, that's really mean.
yeah, and when I told him to stop, he still didn't stop. So he's really not allowed on my streams anymore.
He never says it. Does he? Okay. What's the most useful thing he ever said?
No, he doesn't say very many useful things. Sometimes he's a little bit entertaining.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't say what he says is extremely useful. No.
He did tell me the story about kites, about how they came to have that name because of
Circle.
the circle. Yes.
I
I mean,
don't
I
get
didn't know
what does
that.
the circle how does the circle represent it again?
Well, you know when all the the American thing about give us your huddle masses, your poor and whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, those Jews, the European Jews arrived on Ellis Island, and they had to go through immigration,
Oh,
and they
that's
had to
right. And they
fill
would put
out
a
those
circle
forms.
instead of an X. They didn't want to put a cross.
Yes, because they thought it was some cunning plan by the Goyim to make them bow to Christ or something. So instead of so instead of using a cross, they use a circle, and that's how the name came about. And the first time I heard of that story was through him. I mean, if I didn't get a strike for him, if it was safe to have him on, I'd excuse a bad language. I mean, would you? I mean,
If I wouldn't get strikes, I would let him on, but I do get strikes. So I mean, and then just he was nasty and he was not repentive about it, and he was just being an asshole about it. So he wasn't being very good.
no, no. And well, we still have each other to talk to.
Yeah, but I mean, who else am I going to let on my streams? Because every time I drop the link, someone comes on and uses a bad word, and then I can't keep the stream up.
So did you actually get a strike, or did you remove it of your own
I
accord?
removed it because I can't afford another strike, or I get my whole channel banned.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I take a risk because I have more than one channel. If one isn't going, at least I have the relief of going to another one.
I
So
know I have to make my other channel, which I'm going to do very
yeah.
soon.
I mean, Luke does that because obviously he gets into trouble quite a lot.
Who does that?
Luke Ford. I mean, I've always known him to have two channels, right?
Why does he get into trouble a lot?
I guess there must be a reason, and everybody's getting into trouble. Even Charles Moskowitz. Did you know that his YouTube channel's been nuked completely?
Charles Moskowitz, what did he say?
Well, he just, I guess a few people just can't get over the fact that they can't discuss certain things. So he goes on about the stolen election, and he gets done, and then he can't believe that, and he talks about it again. It's like a kind of compulsion that they can't stop. Uh, I
What
guess,
election fraud? You're not allowed to talk about election fraud on here?
yeah, yeah, you're not even allowed to mention it. Ooh, 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 oh dear. But anyway, yeah, it got done. But I mean, he does go on about it and goes into detail about So anyway, he's now on Rumble, and I was so triggered by his shirt. Vincent, he was wearing this woman's blouse, and I just can't stop. Okay, I just managed to stop myself in the last 24 hours
What was
talking
he doing
about.
wearing a woman's blouse?
Okay, maybe it isn't a woman's blouse. That woman said it could have been a Hawaiian shirt, but it just looked so disgusting. I'm sure you would never wear such a thing, Vincent. At least I know that you wouldn't. I can find a picture of that for you, of this terrible shirt. That triggers me just when I think about
What
it.
does Charles Moskowitz think about homosexuals?
I've never discussed that with him. Oh, but he actually admitted that he was an Islamophobe because he said, oh, before 9/11, I was inviting this Muslim, and then after that, I didn't invite any more Muslims on my show. That was kind of what he said.
Yeah.
He's really not very bright, you know.
Yeah, he's not bright. He did this typical thing that all these Jews do. So him and Duvid were talking about the Noahide laws. And they were focusing on Christians, and he kept being like, Christians aren't idolaters. They worship the God of Israel. They're not idolaters. And Duvid was like, oh, yes, most Jews believe they're idolaters. And the fight was over whether Christians are idolaters or not. And then he brought me up. Duvid brought me up, and he was like, Vincent's a homosexual in New York who's against the Noahide laws. He's trying to stop it because he's a homosexual and stuff like that. And Charles Moskowitz just like went really quiet. They all do this thing where they focus in only on Christianity not being idolatry because they assume most people that are listening are Christians. But then when it comes to like a homosexual or an idolater or a blasphemer, they get like really like they don't want to answer the question, you know what I mean? Or they don't want to talk about it.
Well, no, because I've been trying to say, look, these Christians, they are idolaters. Why don't you just say it? Just say it, Charles. Say that they're idolaters. It's like, nah, Christianity has brought the Gentile towards God, and I'm not going to say anything mean about Catholics and stuff. So he's basically going on in that vein, and then he basically won't talk to me. So I guess that's an additional reason why I don't like it.
Oh, he doesn't talk to you.
He's been avoiding me, and then finally that shirt.
Well, I don't see why people avoid you. I think this is really just. I don't know why people avoid you. I mean, I don't avoid you. I don't feel particularly threatened by you because I know under your system so many things would be allowed, and so many people would agitate against secular Quranism in the society because they're just allowed to, and there would be so many other practices available to people. I mean, everything would still be available to everyone. I mean, it wouldn't stay that way for very long. There's too much. There's no way to. There's no way to make sure that everyone is picking secular Quranism. There's just no way to do it.
I mean, I've had a few new ideas about how to deal with these, people. Actually, maybe okay. I was going to kind of screen share the thing, but I'll do that to show you this dreadful shirt that he's wearing. But
That one, the blue one.
Yeah, and I'm going to put it in the link so you can actually see the. Oh, okay. Maybe I'm just being a bit weird. Getting so triggered about this shirt. So and maybe you think, oh, it's quite a pretty shirt. Why are you taking on so there, whatever? But I mean, it's not a Hawaiian shirt, is it? I mean, I can almost forgive Hawaiian shirts, but I don't think it is.
Well, maybe he's going trans.
There's a lot of men in middle age,
going trans. Well, there's lots of people that are older that would have liked to be trans when they were younger, but it was much more difficult to come out as trans back then. And so now they're doing it now that they're older, you know what I mean? And
the standard of trans okay, it used to be better. It's like, if you were a man and you really wanted to be like a woman, you would, adopt their mannerisms. You wouldn't just sort of just put on the skirt and you don't, or a dress and not even bother shaving off your beard and then go around saying, I'm a woman, I'm a woman. It's like it was really taking the mickey. And I saw that recently in my town, and I thought, well, at least do it properly. And yeah, you go into pubs and you see this man, leaning against a bar in a skirt and just just behaving like a man, but just wearing a skirt. At least do it properly so we can,
Well, no, that's the thing that I mean. People are saying you can mix and match and mix and match. I mean, I know it's kind of well now they have this thing where you can look like a man and dress like a man and still be trans, and you know what I mean. That trans,
it's
you
just
don't
like
even
I
have.
feel like a woman, even though I had my suit and tie, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, doesn't that annoy you, or are you okay with it? I mean,
No, that
you're
doesn't
quite
annoy
confident
me.
in
That
your
doesn't annoy me.
identity.
I mean, I've had sexual relationships with other men where they dressed like men, and but in the bedroom they wanted me to call them a woman, and I would call them my wife and stuff like that. I mean, we didn't do that outside the bedroom. We didn't like.
Hmm.
Oh, maybe we would have if it was more than just a fleeting relationship.
Hmm.
Um, no, I mean, I had an attraction to someone and it was online. I would never be able to meet them because they live so far away, but I would call them my wife. But I mean, I knew they were a boy. I would call them my wife. Um,
Hmm.
I would
Well,
call them
if they're younger than you might call them your wife.
well, this one happened to be younger than me. The other ones don't
Mhm.
need to be younger than me, but this one happened to be younger than me. Um,
Yes, I
I
mean
did
that's interesting because sorry, you carry on.
no, I mean, I feminized him in certain angles, not in all of them. Like I would call him my wife, but I mean, I didn't call him a woman beyond that or think of him as a woman beyond that. I would just use that word to describe him.
Mm,
But I still use him. I wouldn't call her a her. I wouldn't say or anything like that. I just
mm.
would use that one aspect of it. So you can use whatever aspect you want. If
Yeah,
you want to act like a man but wear a dress or wear a dress and have a beard, I mean I don't have a problem with that. I mean,
it annoys the hell out of me. Oh my god.
well, I mean, you probably just prefer the ones that can dress up and look like a real woman and everything
Yeah, and
like
then I can think, oh wow, you're so wonderful. You can do it so right. You're better than a woman because you've got all the gestures right. I mean, I'd rather that than like, no, come on, just shave that beard off before you put on that dress.
well, but some people are attracted to that. I mean, some people
Really? I remember you complaining on Facebook once. It's like, oh, you're complaining about trans. I can't remember what you said now. I think you were complaining that
I
people
do
were
complain about
forcing you to want to have sex with trans
oh,
men or
yes, that's
something.
absolutely vile and disgusting. That is those vile, disgusting things that you're racist or that you're sex or that you're transphobic if you don't want to sleep with a trans person. That's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my life. Don't shame people into having sex with you.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so crazy. And
Don't
yeah, I
shame people.
mean, and I think dating websites, they're sort of saying, is it racist to say that I want, to only meet somebody of my own, race, you know,
Yeah,
and
it's not racist. I mean, you just have a preference. You have a sexual preference, and nobody should shame you for that or try to get you out of it or anything like that. Whatever your sexual preferences are, they are. Like, I'm very defensive over that. You know what I mean? Because obviously, a lot of people have problems with my sexual preferences and wish they would change and things like that. And um that would really gross me out. It would really gross me out. I would never tell a straight man that he needs to sleep with me or he's homophobic. I would never tell somebody that. That's like so violating.
yeah, because it's a very personal thing, and you can't, maybe you can't even explain why you might like one woman if you're heterosexual more than another woman. Maybe you can't really even explain it to yourself.
Yeah,
Even
right.
if you are the right, gender and sexual orientation or whatever. Or it might sort of take years of figuring it out and think, oh, that's why I like this person more than the other one,
Right.
But I think it's really unhealthy that people are being forced to be so fluid, because it's like it's bad enough that so many people can't make their mind up about anything. I mean, does it drive you mad?
I'm sorry, does what drive me mad?
People not making up their minds about anything, or saying with apparent conviction one thing one day, and the next time you see them, they seem to have forgotten that they ever said this thing that you remember them saying with such conviction.
Well, a lot of people are not very ideologically stable.
They're not mentally stable.
Yeah, they're not ideologically stable. They're not mentally stable. They don't, you know what I mean? They don't understand how to put together logical, rational positions and things like that. They don't know how to do it. They're all over.
Why do you think you are better at it than most? Because I think that's why we get along. That I like the way you can put together arguments that the rest of them just can't even do. Was there something about your education or background that made you so good at this?
Well, being a Jehovah's Witness, you have to try to convince people of a doctrine, and they worked very hard to make a stable, cohesive doctrine, which is what everyone complains about them. They're like, oh, they have this like dense maze of doctrines that all are all interlocking, and they're different from everyone else. But it's, as far as religion goes, it's like a logical system. As far as like religion can be logical,
Well,
and they
because it has certain rules that everybody has to agree with before you can make arguments. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, kind of, or at least they have a system of their own logic where it's like, well, this means this and this means that, and so therefore this and that means this. And they spend a lot of time trying to convince you of their system. You know what I mean? It's a system, so it's comprehensive, but it's also, a united whole. It kind of all makes sense together and flows in a certain direction and has a conclusion and arguments that lead up to it. So probably that had a lot to do with that. The fact that I was.
So you did go from door to door to talk to people, did you?
Huh?
Did you go knock on people's
Yes.
doors? Oh wow! So how would you argue with Trinitarians?
I did not spend. They did have a pamphlet on the Trinity. It's weird. I remember seeing that pamphlet on the Trinity. I don't remember reading it. I don't ever remember any talks about the Trinity or anything like that. Actually, I didn't even really know that we didn't believe in the Trinity until I left. So I never got into a conversation about the Trinity. But now that I've left, I know that they do have material against the Trinity that you can hand out, but I never handed one of them out.
Have you got any? I mean, do you have access to them? Because I'd quite like to see that.
Let's see.
I suppose it's quite easy to. What are the arguments? Okay, I have in my time entertained Jehovah's Witnesses, but I don't think they ever got that far to discussing God. I sort of knew that they were sooner or later they would say, God will help me if I'm not happy with the government, because their opening line would be, how do you feel about the government? Right? Is that so?
Here they have a little article on the Trinity. I didn't read it yet, but I'll post it in the chat, in the comments. Why can't I post it in the comments? What's going on? Oh, you can't do that on this side?
You can, if you click on the private chat, because you just posted I am backstage.
I know, but I can't post in the comments section.
Oh, you just did.
No, I posted in the private, but not in the comment. There's no.
You can click on comments too,
I
right?
clicked on comments and it won't let me comment here.
Oh, how strange. Well, I can access both. I mean, I click on comments, or I can click on private chat, and then I can. I guess you have to open another window.
Well, I can't click on comments, but
if I click on comments, can you see something?
I know that they deny being Arianists. They do come from a different perspective than the Arianists.
But okay, I've already said that Jehovah's Witnesses are, the modern day Arians, and you disagree. But now that you just confessed that you didn't even know you weren't supposed to believe in the Trinity until after you left Jehovah's Witnesses. I wonder how seriously I can take you about your view that Jehovah's Witnesses don't
Well,
believe
they
in
deny it.
Arianism.
They deny it. I mean, they openly deny that they're not Arians. I mean, they have their logic behind why they're not Arians. They got non-Trinitarianism from Freemasonry. They didn't get it from the Arians.
I don't. There was a Council of Nicaea, right?
Well, they
And
just wrote about that. The Council of, what did they say? They said something about it. It's right here in this article that I sent you. Let's see what they said about the Council of Nicaea. They said, the Nicene Creed is actually not the product of the First Council of Nicaea, but of the Council of Constantinople, says the New Westminster Dictionary of Church History. The Council of Nicaea is in 325 stated the crucial formula for the yet future Trinity doctrine in its concession that the Son is of the same substance as the Father, Encyclopedia Britannica.
Okay, my understanding of the Council of Nicaea was that Constantine called all the bishops to the council and said, "You guys agree a doctrine, and when you do, I'm going to adopt it." And they couldn't even agree. So the majority were Trinitarians, and the Arians were, well, the minority. But anyway, Constantine and his son preferred Arianism, so they carried on in their Arian way until 330. Sorry, the year 380. During which the Edict of Thessalonica was issued, and from that time onwards, if you were not Trinitarian, you would be persecuted by the Roman state. So that's the history of it. You can find it all on Wikipedia.
Yes, which is
anyway.
just, I mean, which is the stupidest thing. I mean, I don't know. Jehovah's Witnesses says there's no evidence for the Trinity in the Bible. That's what they say.
It's true that there isn't any.
I mean, I know Trinitarians say that they have their reasons to believe that it is in there.
Well, okay. I mean, you can kind of work out the political reasons for it. It's like, we want the guy we worship to be as powerful as the Jewish God, so we're going to make him the co-equal of the Jewish God.
I never were
right?
they even worshiping Jesus before the Council of Nicaea? I don't know if they were worshiping
Well,
him.
they were sort of saying that, he's Son of God and he was resurrected, which means he was immortal, which means he's divine. And the Arians just said, I guess they must have thought, well, we can't say he's a co-equal of God. It's stupid. But the Trinitarians
Well, I mean,
said,
the Jehovah's Witnesses get
our God
around.
has to be at least as powerful as their God.
The Jehovah's Witnesses get around that by just saying he was an angel. I mean, just because someone's an angel doesn't mean that they're God. I mean, there's angels. Just because, like, angels came down to the earth in human form, so they're able to do that. Jesus was just another angel that did that. There was nothing particularly special about him. he was just an angel. That was it. He was an angel, and there's nothing more complicated to it than that.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned this angel thing because okay, the Jewish conception of angels is that they have no free will. So while angels are always, good, they have no free will. They're sort of the robots of God, right? So the Muslims have the story about um, Satan, who is an angel, objecting. For some reason, he has free will or something. Anyway, and then God created. Okay, so the story was that God asked these angels. Okay, it doesn't really make sense, but anyway, this is what I can remember of the story. So God was wondering whether to create humanity, and he'd already created the angels, and he asked them what they thought, and the angels said, no, don't do it, God, you'll regret it, and he zapped them, and then he asked the question again, and they still said no, but God decided he was going to create humanity anyway, and Satan said, well, I and then God told the angels to bow to humans, and they refused. Or Satan refused. Satan refused to bow to humans because he well, whatever his reasons. So anyway, so that's a story. So we actually have a higher status than angels because God told angels to bow before humans.
Okay, well, then that just would further prove the fact that Jesus was not special and that he wasn't God. You know what I mean? I think that would just bring it to a whole other level. If humans are above angels, then what does it, then it's not really a big deal that he was an angel. It's just not a big deal. You just get around it by saying he's an angel. That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how
But
they.
it's just as unbelievable anyway, and annoying. And well, it annoys me that people have been force fed this nonsense for so many centuries and they still want more of it. You know? It's so dumb. And they cling to it like it was something precious and life giving. When it's you've been just force fed this rubbish for centuries.
Well, I mean, what I don't like, okay, like I see this on Facebook all the time where you find these Christians that are like, well, I don't understand the Trinity. And they're like, well, it's a mystery. And then they tell them, well, just because you don't understand it, that's no reason to leave Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, just because you can't understand, it's no reason to leave Jesus. I mean,
No.
obviously, well, that's why people are going to go Noahide more, because there is a lot of questions around the Trinity. And if you ask too many questions, I don't know what kind of, I don't know what kind of questions former Christians who become Noahides were asking, because they're not throwing out the whole Bible, right? They're not saying, oh, well, all the homophobia and misogyny and anti-paganism and all that. That's not their problem with it. They have some doctrinal problem where it's like, they're not against the Bible, but they're just against certain interpretations that they see and they don't agree with or they don't understand. And then they bring those things that they don't understand before the Christian church. And they basically get answers they don't like, which is usually like, shut up and put up or get out.
Mhm.
I don't know what their complaints are. I know one of them is the Trinity, but that's the only one I know. I know they have problems with things that Jesus said and Jesus did, and just the way things went down.
But don't you think that if you're going to kind of grade a religion, you'd give it marks for having the most powerful God because why wouldn't you what's the point of worshiping anything that isn't the most powerful God? And then we can all okay, we'll worship the most powerful God, and then the next level of dispute would be, well, whose way of worshipping this most powerful God is the correct one? and then how are we going to measure, the effectiveness of it? So I'm basically saying, well, if religion has any purpose outside, worshipping God and whatever, if it has a sort of, if it's a group evolutionary strategy, then we have to look to the Jews because, look, they're still around and annoying all the Gentiles. So they've obviously got something there, whether you think, God protects them or not, or maybe there's just something in the rules of their religion that keeps them in existence. So, there could be several reasons for it. Maybe genocide never works. You can't try and kill them. There's always a few left over, and then they complain, or God really does protect them, or there'll always be enough people who want to be Jews because they so love the chosen status of being Jewish that even though they suffer restrictions, there will be enough people who are kind of theological snobs who think, yeah, I want to be God's chosen people because it sounds so cool and makes me so high status, and I can look down my nose at the goyim, and that would be, maybe enough of a motivator to make people want to be Jewish because of the sort of magic special powers that Jews are supposed to have.
Well, right. I mean, okay, of all the three Abrahamic religions, Judaism is obviously the most pure. They did get involved with paganism when they went in Babylon and created the Babylonian Talmud. There's lots of pagan things in the Talmud.
It's a sin. It's like what everybody wants. They want things. They want to look at things. They want to touch it. They want to own it. And people can't. But the material things have their uses. Obviously, I mean, works of art, and people just want things, and it's a natural inclination that Jews kind of they kept their identity just because they're so weird. It's like, well, everybody has an idol, but you guys don't. This is so weird. Oh, you're very strange, and people just go on and on and on about it, and in a way, by going on about it, they raise these Jews in status. And of course, they're the people who kind of conceived of the most powerful God conceivable. So they got there first. So I guess it's always easy for the person who got to the top of the tree first to stamp on the hands of people trying to get to their place, and also the goyim, by imitating their idea, and so what Christianity and Islam have been doing is that the Abrahamic God loves us too, and he gave us revelation. Well, Christians will say, well, he gave us his only son because he loved us so much. So, Jews, your God didn't love you enough to sacrifice his only son to you, but he did for us, and we're so cool, and we have these global empires now, and the Muslims, will say, no, you can't worship Jesus. We are the correction of Christianity, and you have these sort of different narratives to these different religions, but they all have to acknowledge the Abrahamic God because he's the most powerful God conceivable. So the only way of competing with each other is to say that our way is the quickest, our way is the best, or whatever. And this is basically, the tension between the three Abrahamic faiths.
I know, but I think Noahidism will win out because it's the most logical, clean, easy to understand, and not filled with a lot of other peripheral stuff. I mean,
I know. But if you were being sensible, you're just predicting what people will prefer, and I don't necessarily disagree with you about them thinking the Noahide laws are not as threatening as Islam. So,
Well, but also with Islam, that comes with a lot of baggage. There's Muhammad, there's a lot of cultural stuff. There's all the shit in the hadiths that you have to listen to. I mean, there's lots of garbage that comes along with
not
Islam.
under secular Quranism, because it rejects a hadith where it contradicts the Quran. But which is why, you know, I want secular Quranism to have its distinct identity, and that's why, you know, I won't convert to Islam, and I'm not going to, you know, I do have rules of interpretation to secular Quranism which are, you know, distinctive and unique. Um, but you know, yeah, but I know that the more Muslims with the Hadith and the different schools of Sharia, and they think they should take precedence because they've been around for longer. But I think the best way of selling it to Westerners is to say, well, I know why you hate, you know, Islam, because of all the Hadithic shit, and therefore you won't get Hadithic shit with secular Quranism.
Well, I
You know,
know, but
that's
I
why.
mean, but you're also not going to get with secular Quranism, you're not going to get a society that feels Abrahamic in any sense of the word. I mean, it's not. It's going to be. It lacks the critical. It lacks the critical oomph. It lacks what's critical to fundamentally change society. So if
What do you
Islam,
mean?
well, if Islam went in and they didn't persecute idolaters and blasphemers and homosexuals and stuff like that, they wouldn't have remained in power for very long.
But they kind of diluted their own rules. I mean, I heard that under the Ottoman Empire, they kind of said it was okay for gay men to marry each other.
Where was
You
this?
know, the Ottoman Empire. I haven't actually read it
Well,
myself, but
yeah,
I heard
okay, there
people
were like
say,
instances where they allowed stuff, but I mean, they were very, for the most part, they were harsh with idolaters, blasphemers, and homosexuals for the most part. And, you know, for the most part, they were. And if you let idolatry and blasphemy and homosexuality just openly be practiced, it's like liberalism. Look, if you allow, let's say that you, okay, as soon as you allow promiscuity, as soon as it's socially and legally allowed in society, it's going to start spreading.
yeah, which is why you have to be so firm about it, and that's why
Right.
all empires fall, because they think they can get away with lowering standards of sexual morality because they don't see the harm of it, and the harm of it doesn't happen, you know, immediately. You have your extramarital sex; it happens, you know, maybe two generations later, and then you think, oh my God, everybody's, you know, the child of an unmarried parent. You know, we don't even dare tell them off now because they are the majority. Like, you know, like Jamaica, it's 86% the illegitimacy rate there. It's 40% in America, you know, and that was a few years ago. It's over 50% in the UK. You know, the signs are everywhere. And of course, you know, mainstream media won't talk about it. And ordinary people won't talk about it because, you know, there's a combination of, my grandchildren are illegitimate, my children are illegitimate, I am illegitimate, or my friends are illegitimate, or my friends are unmarried. You know, it's everywhere. I know lots of people like that. So it
I know,
becomes
but what I'm saying is,
unsayable
okay, the
now.
same principle applies to secular Quranism. If you just allow idolatry and blasphemy, it's just going to permeate society. I mean, like liberalism takes over because it gives people what they want. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, they want to let their hair down and everything, hang out and enjoy free love, and we know the consequence of that.
I know,
And
but I'm saying secular Quranism is not going to work because it allows what people want to do, and if other people see other people doing this, they're going to want to do it too.
okay, but I'm making it clear. These are the rules. If you want to do it, don't get caught. Don't expect, you know, equal marriage and all that crap. You know, you'll have to make other arrangements now. You know, gay couples, you'll have to. I mean, I know that there's something called mutual wills, which is what gay people used to do before the civil partnership and gay marriage. and the way to do it is, I mean, heterosexual couples can do it, and even people not married to each other, we just basically say, well, if I die first, then all my property goes to you, and if you die first, all your property goes to me, and that kind of settles most questions for anybody.
Well, but we're not just talking about, I know you wouldn't allow open homosexuality or promiscuity to be practiced, but you would allow open idolatry and open blasphemy, and people are going,
because because I'm not going to be, closing down churches.
okay, but obviously Christianity and paganism and Hinduism and Buddhism are all going to spread in your society, and they're not going to want secular Quranism. And if you allow them to flourish, they're going to grow interest groups, and they're going to infiltrate the government, and they're going to have the vote, and they're going to want to vote you out of office. They're going to want to vote secular Quranism out of office.
I'd like to think that secular Quranism will have benefits that enough people will want to keep. And anyway, I have ways of dealing with these subversives.
Oh, let me go to the bathroom.
Right. What is the chat saying? Oh, Stephen James, you've got 2 strikes. Naughty, naughty. Why do you say Vincent has been vengeful? I hadn't noticed. And now, having read the chat, I'm going to read my Twitter notifications. Nothing interesting.
So, how are you going to deal with these dissidents?
I mentioned it in my previous stream. So what I'm going to do, Vincent, is divide people into groups. It's along the lines of Pancasila. Have you heard of that? It's the Indonesian state ideology. But if you haven't heard of it, it works like this. Indonesia is an empire. It has different groups of people, so actually Jews are the only people who don't have a special group of their own. So you'd have to join a particular group. So there would be, you can join the Hindu group, you can join the Muslim group, you can join the Christian group, and the Buddhist group. But there are no special groups for Jews or atheists. So Jews were said, well, you can either join the Christian group or the Muslim group, because we don't think you're big enough to be worthy of a group, especially created for you, because you're not big. You don't have enough people to make it up or something. So guess what the Jews did? They chose to be identified as Christian because of, I think, innate reasons of snobbery, because they were thinking, well, we want to identify with, the powerful people of the West who colonized the planet, and we don't want to be associated with the Muslims, even though ideologically we are closer to them. And this is what Tovia Singer was complaining about when he was the chief rabbi of Indonesia. Anyway, atheists have been complaining that the Indonesian government haven't been, just off, don't accept them. They don't acknowledge their existence as a group, and then they say that means they'll be unofficially discriminated against because they haven't got a group. And I'm saying, under secular Quranism, I'm going to give them a group. Agnostics and atheists can join this group, and they can join. But what will happen when these people apply for jobs is that they'll have to fill in their moral group, and people who say they're agnostic or atheist won't be able to get a job as easily as because I imagine employers will think, oh, Christian, that's okay. Hindu, oh, that's okay. Buddhist, that's okay. Muslim, Jew, that's okay. Ooh, agnostic and atheist, it probably means these people are going to be more likely to steal and lie and commit sexual offenses and be bad parents and be unmarried parents and be the children of illegitimate parents. Do we want those people? I'd rather not take the risk. That kind of attitude. You see, does it make sense?
It's not official state discrimination. You're just leaving it to the society to discriminate.
Yeah. It can't be official state discrimination.
Okay, but I think in order for all this to work, you have to get the vast majority of the population to be on your side.
Yeah, I'm just talking about it in theory anyway. I mean, if I think, there'd be no point talking about this if I'm only going to talk about it if I believe it's going to happen next year. I mean, I'm just talking about it as an idea. So I'm saying to manage people, you would and be true to my constitution of not discriminating against anybody and guaranteeing freedom of belief. I would have to group these people in the same way that the Indonesians under their state ideology of Pancasila have done. And yes, belief in a creator is part of this state ideology. So it's practically no hide. If you want to look it up. Have you heard of Pancasila?
What is it called?
It's spelled Pancasila.
Hold on, let me write. Oh wait. It is spelled
Pancasila.
Pancasila. Foundation philosophy theory of Indonesia. 2 words are derived from Sanskrit. 5, Pancha 5, and Sila principles. It is composed of 5 principles: belief in one God, just and civilized humanity, the unity of Indonesia, democracy guided by the inner wisdom in the unanimity arising out of deliberations among representatives, social justices for all the people of Indonesia. But it believes in one God. So Conop says that it's a legal ban on polytheism.
But Hinduism is acknowledged, isn't it?
Is it acknowledged as... What is the state religion of Indonesia?
Well, I think they're more Muslims than any other group. But it's
isn't Islam the state religion of Indonesia?
I don't think it has a official religion, does it, Conop? I think he understands this more than we do because it's Indonesia was a Dutch colony.
I'm seeing if it has a state religion.
Well, I know. Okay, Malaysia, which is its neighbor, has a state religion. It's so that's pretty unambiguous. And Malaysia is, in fact, ethno-nationalist.
Does Indonesia have a state religion? Why is this such a hard question to answer?
Because I don't know offhand. I'm saying
no. I'm looking it up on Google.
Oh.
Hold on. I looked it up on stupid Yahoo. Yahoo is such garbage. Okay, well, it says that it only recognizes 6 official religions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it doesn't recognize all religions.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I can't find if it has a state religion or not.
I think, because it's an empire, it doesn't want to,
Okay, it says
antagonize.
it's secular, and this one says that it's secular, or at
Okay,
least
there we go. There's your answer. It hasn't got an official religion, but it has, more Muslims, I think, than any other group. And there's even a province in Sumatra that operates Sharia law. Because the corporal punishment for sex offenders is practiced in Aceh province.
the what? Say that again.
Corporal punishment for sex offenders is administered publicly in Aceh province in Indonesia.
Yes, and why would that? Why would a society make sexual offenses illegal unless it was running on Islam? I mean, what's their basis for?
But it's only in Aceh province. But other parts of Indonesia, you can. It doesn't happen there. If you're an empire, you can say you have this sort of special administrative region, and that, and another region has its own different rights. I mean, China does it. Well, Britain does it with Northern Ireland. I mean, there are a few different laws in Northern Ireland that or blasphemy is still operate. They still have blasphemy laws in Northern Ireland that has been repealed in England and Wales.
But they're not applied, those anti-blasphemy laws.
I don't. Okay, there must be reasons why they haven't been repealed in Northern Ireland. I don't know, so I'm not going to say anything. But I guess Northern Ireland would have problems with Catholics and Protestants, fighting and killing each other. So maybe the blasphemy laws are basically kind of like public order. We don't want, one group of religious adherents being really rude about the religious beliefs of another, because then they might start a fight and there will be,
Yeah, well, so you're going to
public
ban
disorder. So don't do it.
So you're going to ban all forms of blasphemy, not just. I mean, you're going to say nobody can blaspheme anyone's religion.
You can turn it into a public order issue, which is what the Public Order Act 1986 is doing. So it just says you mustn't cause people to feel threatened, and you mustn't abuse them, you mustn't insult them, and that kind of thing, which is kind of about blasphemy, isn't it? Because the whole point for the police, when they're trying to manage people who really want to fight each other, is so that they can arrest somebody. It's like, oh, you this placard you're holding, it's offensive. We're going to arrest you, take you away.
That's horrible.
Well, I mean, maybe if you're a shop or a restaurant, you don't want people, you don't want public disorder to break out and destroy your business and break your windows.
But then there's never going to be any change in society, and people can't express their ideas about ideologies and religions and things like that. I mean, what kind of?
They can express it online, but now the law is treating the internet as if it were a public place where people might break out into violence, But of course, it's not true, because you might say something so angry that will make me so angry, but I won't be able to hit you.
Yes, they are starting to do that. I know they're sending to people's houses in Britain. They're sending government people to people's houses about things they've posted on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, it's happened to me. So it's
the
obviously
government
over
came
the
to your
top.
house.
Well, yeah, I posted a blog about it in 2013.
So what happened? Why did they come to your house?
I asked offensive questions about a woman called Jessica Toms. She was supposed to have Tourette syndrome. She was on the radio a lot. At first, I found her really funny, and then it just got a bit tiring. And so I asked a series of offensive questions about her, and I made sure they were not defamatory, so she couldn't sue me for libel, but they were nevertheless offensive. So she called the cops on me. That's basically, what happened.
And
they invited me to plead guilty, but if you accept a caution, you're basically saying, yes, I'm guilty, but nothing will happen to me and I won't do it again. And I refused to accept my caution because I didn't think I'd done anything wrong.
Well, I mean, unless you were threatening her or defaming her.
No, I mean, okay, I was just basically saying, here is an intelligent, middle class, educated woman, and actually, everything she does says makes sense, except that she has to pretend that she has a compulsion to say biscuit and tap her chest, while she's being interviewed. And I was suggesting she's only doing that to avoid the horrible responsibility of having to find a boyfriend and get married and be a mother. And she's just using this supposed disability to give her an excuse not to do those things. So that was, what I wondered she could be doing. And she didn't like it.
Well, I really don't think that we should have laws like they have those in India.
I agree too. I don't think she should be able to call the cops on me because she didn't like my
they have
questions.
these communal tension laws. Like when I was in India, I wanted to do a protest against Mother Teresa for being so bad in Calcutta about what she did with all the money and how her hospitals were unsanitary and how she really didn't help people and stuff like that. And all the Indians were scared to help me because of these communal violence laws. They said that we would get in trouble if we went out with the posters defaming Mother Teresa. We would get arrested for communal tension laws. I don't want that. That's horrible.
Yeah. You see what the police in India do. They just, they arrive with their sticks and they see a crowd and they start beating the crowd. No questions asked. That's how they police public order there.
Yeah, well,
and so we should have our free speech protected, but if people don't care about the principle of the thing, then of course it will be narrow.
I know, but you're suggesting something similar. You're suggesting that for public order, we're not allowed to go out into the streets and protest against each other's religions.
I didn't say that, did I? I never
like
said
it.
that. I was explaining the situation to you about blasphemy. I'm saying that the public, they don't call it blasphemy now, right? They don't call it blasphemy, but in effect, they are blasphemy laws. Because I said in Northern Ireland, blasphemy laws are still live. And I am saying presumably this is because, the Catholics and Protestants in Northern Ireland had never got on with each other, and they would, provoke each other by being rude about each other's religion. And that's why, even though blasphemy laws have been repealed in England and Wales, it's not been repealed in Northern Ireland. I'm just speculating.
I thought you said for public order, you did not want people out in the streets defaming each other's religions. That's not what you believe in?
I think people's religions and political beliefs should be questioned, but I guess I am talking from a policing standpoint. So you're a copper, you don't want there to be a riot, you don't want there to be people fighting in the streets and breaking windows and doing violent stuff. So the police have got to be given a reason where you can say, you're out of line, you're saying things, and you're going to arrest you, before more people, copycat you and do this provocative thing that will lead to a breakdown of public order. I'm thinking of it from the standpoint of public order, which the police are supposed to maintain. So you have to give them some guidelines about when it is permissible for them to arrest you, or they can just sort of do the things that Indian police do. They arrive, they come with sticks, they see a crowd, they beat them, so they go away. What do you want?
Well, I mean, look, if you're going out into the street with a sign or a message that might bring violence towards you, the cops are there to protect you and to arrest anyone who would be trying to stop you. That's what's supposed to happen. They are supposed to put a barricade around you. They're supposed to monitor the situation, and anyone who becomes aggressive with you, they are supposed to arrest. They're not supposed to arrest the blasphemers in the street. They're supposed to protect them.
Look, these decisions are taken from a very practical standpoint. So I remember reading about a law report, and it was just about this woman. This is actually Northern Ireland, and she was going through a I forget whether she was Protestant or not, but anyway, she was wearing, I don't know, green and orange or something, and she was wearing orange. I think that's a story, and this would be considered terribly provocative to the Catholics, and she insisted on walking through a Catholic area, being an orange woman, and i.e. a Protestant, and the police said, no, you can't. And she said, well, it was a problem, whatever. And they're saying, no, you can't, because, if you do, they'll all go, they're all going to attack you. And they will have to expend police resources to protect you. And you're just doing it to deliberately to provoke them. So you can't do it. We're going to arrest you right here and now. So, that's the law report that I remember reading.
Well,
and it's because they don't have the police resource, and it's probably because you might think you have the right, but if you do this thing, violence will break out. No, the police are not philosophers or having a debate about which religion is right and whatever. They're just there to prevent public order from breaking down. And so they said, no, you can't go in there dressed like that, so don't. And if you do, we're going to arrest you. And I'm saying from a policing standpoint, that makes perfect sense.
I don't know. This is going to cause a lot of more problems because people
but they can take the fight on the internet, right? They can, if you really want to argue with each other about your religion, you can take it online. So, and we can. And I think we still can. Fortunately, we can still have these discussions if we choose our words carefully.
You would allow blasphemy online?
Yeah, but no, of course I have to allow it, because one person's blasphemy is another person's religious practice. I mean, look at the Christians. I mean, the Jews, really what they think is that Christians, by their belief that Jesus is the co-equal of God, are in their minds practicing blasphemy and idolatry.
What if we told people that there was an area in the city that they could go to spread their message, where they would have police protection and that they would be able to say what they want to say, but if they went out into the street itself and just walked around with their signs, that they would not necessarily, they couldn't be granted police protection and their safety couldn't be guaranteed. I mean, what about...
we have Speaker's Corner and you have Union Square, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Or we have the internet if we can't physically reach those places. So really, yes, we can, we can always argue about these things. But what we want is for it to be resolved once and for all. And
It'll never be
so far, the
resolved.
Jews and Muslims are just not up to saying, look, Christians, you've been practicing idolatry and blasphemy for nearly 2,000 years. Can you stop, in case God exists and he's very annoyed about these things? I mean, that's basically my narrative.
I don't think that this is ever going to go away, and I think making communal tension laws are going to exacerbate it because people will become very bitter over the fact that, you know, now Muslims are in the country. We can't go out and protest anymore on the streets like we used to. And, you know, society is changing because we're letting different people in. And now our freedom of you know, this way of life where we had total freedom of expression before, and you could go out into the streets and protest and nobody would tackle you or try to kill you like it used to be. And now we have Muslims here, and if you do this, they might behead you. And because of that, the cops are scared. And so now they have to break up protests and stuff like that. That's just going to make society disintegrate even further.
But don't you see that if Americans were following their religion, which is Christianity, they think, and practicing family values and, you know, the rules of marriage and good parenting, then none of this would have happened, because, you know, I'm saying immigration only came because there weren't enough, you know, employable people to fill all the positions that needed to be filled, to be filled. So they had to import cheap labor, and then, you know, having imported the cheap labor, I guess the government felt they had to protect it. And that's why the stopping you from insulting them and inciting each other to kick them out and whatever. So in a way, it's understandable. So the bargain, the only way to solve the problem is to say, you know, which the anti-immigration parties never say. It's like, well, if we don't want any more immigration, we would have to educate our children better. We would have to have more children at a younger age, and make sure that, you know, they are employable, desirable employees, rather than welfare claimants and layabouts not capable of turning up for work, or keeping, you know, keeping their job because they're so lazy and useless and whatever. I mean, you know, they've got to be able to say that, but they're not going to say that because, you know, they don't want to upset people in case they lose votes. So this is this terrible cycle of, you know, not seeing the whole picture, and just avoiding all the, you know, things that they don't want to do, because they don't want to say we have to stop having elections because it's a stupid way of choosing your national leader, and government policies, and we should have a one party state, and oh, by the way, Christianity has failed, so let's have Islam. I know. You know, I know I'm kind of saying that, and that's why everybody's freaking out. But that, you know, that's a problem in my view. So you might as well have, you know, real blasphemy laws, because that is kind of what would protect your society. Because if you really believed in God, then you wouldn't be screwing around and, you know, randomly having sex and having illegitimate offspring and then abandoning them, or not parenting them properly, so they are useless and criminal, and nobody wants to hire them, and then, you know, and all the businesses say, well, we need labor, and you know, if we can't have them locally, we'll have to import them from abroad.
I know, but none of this would have been a okay. Well, okay, a lot of people say we don't need as many people as we used to with all this technology and the way things are running. I mean, we don't need masses and masses of people anymore, but this would not have been a problem had conservatives not gotten in the way of global birth control and abortion. They spent all of their time stopping it in the West. Okay, what did the eugenicists of the early 1920s want? They wanted birth control to reach every country on earth. They did not just want it for the West. They wanted it for everyone. And they understood that in order for it to have a eugenic effect, everyone had to be on it. It couldn't just be Westerners. And people like you got in the way of that. Had it been up to us, everyone would be on birth control. All populations would be smaller. But you fought and you fought and you fought, and you made sure that we could only fight here in the West, and we weren't able to implement our programs and get it everywhere. So this is your fault.
I actually, I have never taken a position on contraceptives. I've only
No,
gone
you
on
have.
about
You said that you
unmarried
would only
parents.
be allowed to have it after you've had your fourth child, after you've
Yeah, because that's the only way the government can control the birth rate of the nation. So if it wants to lower the birth rate, it will, say, oh, you've only had one child, well done, you've completed your family, you can't have any more children. Or, they'll say, oh, one child, you haven't completed your family. Two, no, not yet. Three, no, no, no. Oh, fourth, okay. It can go up and down, and that's how they would control the birth rate. And it's so easy to do, but only if they're a one-party state, right? I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Wait, Balenciaga Insight is asking me to drop the link. I don't know what he means by that. This is not my stream. I can't drop the link here. And then George said that I'm like a gayer, more alive, younger version of Margaret Sanger. I mean, Margaret Sanger is my guru, the person that I take the most insight from. And yeah, she started with this birth control movement, and she wanted it to have a eugenic effect. She wanted to reduce everyone's birth rate. She went to India. She went to China. She wanted to reduce their birth rates too. It wasn't just in the West. She had, a global vision, but she had to sit and fight the Catholic Church and all the conservatives and all this other kind of stuff. And of course, in the third world where tradition and religion has more sway, the Catholics were able to keep abortion and birth control out longer. And now, of course, they have higher birth rates because they haven't been in the abortion and birth control culture as long or as heavily as the West has.
So do you know this Balenciaga Insight person?
Is that Diamond?
I don't know.
What link? Balenciaga Insight, what link? I don't have a link to post in the chat, and I can't post in the comments from here anyway, but I don't know what link you're looking for. I don't know what you're talking about.
I guess he's one of your hate watchers.
Yeah.
So what's new with you, other than banning OV from your channel?
Nothing. My sex life is horrible.
Why?
It's just impossible to get sex. It's impossible to get sex.
You have a husband, and I think he likes you, doesn't he? I like the sort of dominance of the way he takes a kiss from you.
Well, I need a lot more than that in the sex department. So
why do you have to go? Okay, I'm just asking. I mean, is it necessary to go? I mean, maybe it's not safe. Why don't you just watch porn and masturbate?
I do watch porn and masturbate, but I mean,
isn't that enough?
No.
I suppose, I don't know. I mean, I thought that was the whole point of porn.
Well, yes, that is the point of porn. But I mean, if you're a young person who can get more than that, then it's not enough. And I tried, I have been organizing gangbangs for 3 or 4 years now. And it is so stressful. It takes up so much time. Nobody shows up. The people who do show up, I don't like them. And I'm just done with it. I'm not even trying that anymore. I've given up on it.
Don't you vet them by saying, send us a picture or something?
What? Say that again?
Okay, I'm just assuming that if you're having a sex party and you don't know everybody, you have to vet them by saying, send us your picture before.
Yeah, I do, but a lot of them are married and discreet, or they're closeted and they don't want to show their face. So you have to just go by the body. And I'm telling you right now, there are so many people. There's so many people who hide their face because they're scared. Because it's like if I only allowed people that showed their face, I wouldn't invite anyone to the party because there would be no people to invite.
I mean, were they using pictures of their own body, or are they using, it's a body of their hunk, but they're really fat and flabby or something?
No, I don't know.
Or they arrive, they have the perfect body, but you don't like their face. Is that the reason why you don't fancy them?
I guess, or their body doesn't look as nice as it did in the picture, and all this other kind of junk. and it's not enjoyable.
Okay, what about Grindr then? I mean, isn't that easier than having sex parties?
Yeah, but it's hard to find someone to have sex with on Grindr. It really is. I mean, it's hard to get everyone. I don't know.
Why? Why? I mean, I guess if you're gay, you go on Grindr, right? There must be lots of people doing that.
It's not that easy. It's not as easy as you think it is.
I'm surprised. Why? Well, I mean, are you saying people don't swipe right for you so much? Is that what you're saying?
I think a lot of people are not that serious about it, and there's a lot of. Okay, it can be very technically difficult to do because a lot of people can't do it at their own house because they're married or they have roommates or they're closeted and nobody can know. And so finding a place to do it is really hard. And then, yeah, finding a place to do it is really hard. There's just a lot of setbacks to it.
What about these New York bathhouses that I've heard so much about?
Yes, I've gone to them. I go to sex parties and stuff.
Or gay bars. I mean, isn't that kind of quick and easy?
There's none around me.
Oh, right. Did you ever watch Cruising?
No, what is that?
Oh, it's a movie about this. Okay, I think it's this policeman who had to go undercover to catch this gay serial killer, and there was a lot of gay culture about the handkerchiefs and the color handkerchiefs putting in different sides of the with the left or right pocket, clones, that kind of. You might think it's a bit dated, or I don't know.
Yeah, I was about to say, when did this all take place?
Let me see. It's quite a famous film. I'm surprised you have that.
What is it called?
Cruising, and it's what's his name? He's a famous actor, and I can't remember his name offhand. 1980.
Yeah, I've stuff with handkerchiefs.
It's by Al Pacino. Yeah, that's the one.
That's pretty dated. I haven't even heard of that. Frank, like signaling with handkerchiefs.
Right. Yeah. Well. Anyway, so it was this serial killer who targeted gay man, and Al Pacino, the cop who was investigating the crime.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was quite a good. Well, it made an impression on me.
Well, I don't know. I think it used to be easier to get sex.
Really? I mean, it must have been harder because, the laws, you're not even supposed to do it. And now there must be so many gay bars that, whatever.
I used to get a lot more sex before Grindr. Everyone keeps saying that Grindr has made it so it's hard to get sex. I'm not the only person who says this.
Was it because you were younger?
No, I don't think it was because of that. Maybe. But no, I shouldn't be. No, I mean, there were men my age having lots of sex. I'm not the only person who has noticed that it's become harder to get sex.
I wonder what is caused. Are people just being more cautious, or I don't know?
I don't know what it is. I mean, okay,
have other men complained other than yourself?
Yeah.
Other gay men? Oh.
Yes, they have. I've heard this complaint before. I don't know. I mean, obviously, Okay, it's one thing I figured out is it's obviously more important to me than it is to other people because most other people are not that serious about it.
Oh, baby.
I mean, making sure that it happens consistently.
You can sugar.
Did it drip through?
You know, I can use that.
Are you gonna wash it?
Yeah.
It's not as important to other people as it is to me because other people just don't make it happen. I mean, people will contact me. I won't contact them. They'll contact me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's very rare if it ever goes anywhere. And it's not because of me. It's because of them. I'm very serious about it. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And they're not.
Mm-hmm. I suppose they're just sort of exploring the idea and but perhaps they choose you because you seem like a nice guy.
Well,
or the archetypal gay man.
I'm not an archetypal gay man.
Well, I tell you, well, you have a gay manner.
I have a gay manner, but I don't think I act like most gay men do.
I think recently you're kind of, you seem more masculine than previously. I don't know, you were just more exaggerated before, and you seem to kind of, well, you're not so.
Well, everybody tells me that I don't really fit in with gay people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what they've told me, what I have been told, is because I'm into serious things. I know that gay people usually aren't. I don't know if that's true. Number one, I've never seen gay people, or at least open gay people. There's tons of closeted gay people that talk the way I talk, but not open gay people.
Well, it seems to me that your whole idea is about leaving a legacy, and and then I think somebody was saying that maybe there's a straight man inside you just screaming to get out, and that's why you
well, I
take up these political causes.
I am
to
obsessed.
Leave your legacy.
I'm obsessed with the reproduction of the human race. I guess that doesn't easily go together, being gay and being like, really, well, why doesn't it go together? I mean, there are plenty of eugenicists who never had children.
Mm-hmm.
And just because I'm gay, that doesn't exclude me from having kids. So, but maybe it's something that doesn't commonly go together. But
well, people just assume that if you wanted to have kids, then you'd be straight, and you just go straight once you've decided that you want to have kids.
Yes, well, that's the thing, the union of the opposites, bringing together two things that don't usually go together to make something, a synthesis, to make something better than, to use what is unnatural to become superior to what is natural. Just like we use science, I mean, we use medicine, unnatural medicine, to combat natural diseases. So making an unnatural pairing in order to kind of increase the potential of the human race.
Yeah, because if it's a product of an incestuous union, then there'll be all kinds of birth defects or something, right? I mean, that's the whole reason why people want to stop that sort of thing.
Well, if we were doing it scientifically, incest wouldn't be a problem, just like it's not a problem in animal breeding. You examine the animals genetically to make sure they have no recessive genetic diseases. If they do, you don't breed them together. And if they don't, you can breed them together, and you just make sure to have you make sure to breed them in certain ways that a safe degree of incest is done. Like, okay, if you have a designer breed, a Great Dane, a Cocker Spaniel, anything that's a designer breed, not a designer breed, not a mutt, a designer breed, they say that the dog is about 25% inbred.
Yeah, they have cockapoos and I don't know other combinations.
Yes, they're about 75%. No, 75. They're about 25% inbred. They had to inbreed them in order to get their special characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me 1 second, Claire? Give me 1 second.
Sure.
So, well, I told you, I think it's better because it necessitates planning and a lack of a more objective way of looking at childbirth than just two heterosexual people falling in love, right? I mean, that's what the breeding of the human race has been based on, either two heterosexual people falling in love or arranged marriage. And usually these old arranged marriages were not arranged along eugenic scientific breeding. They were arranged who had money, who had the most cows, these kinds of things, who the family was related to or close to, or what tribe they wanted to marry into. I mean, they weren't doing this like, okay, let's selectively breed the best human race. I mean, so arranged marriage really wasn't that either. So whenever you have heterosexuals involved in the breeding of the human race, you have the opposite of eugenics. You have the opposite of selective breeding. You have just random mating. It's a free-for-all. I mean, your system is a total free-for-all for genetics. You could never run a selective breeding program with heterosexuals marrying each other. That's just impossible.
Well, marriage would be the filter. And which is degenerate, because we think we can just, I like the look of him, and have sex with him, and that's it. You don't think of the long term. You don't think of his career prospects, his, whether his family are okay, because all these long-term considerations are hoops for them to jump through, and for yourself too, of course. So that's why Western IQ has dropped so precipitously. It's true, Vincent. Come on. Now, even for gay people, you're not going to find, lots of gay people prepared to marry each other. They have to say, oh, well, okay, yes, he's good in bed, but, can I put up with him long term?
Which is why we need to find another way besides marriage to reproduce.
There's no need. At
all. But people right now, I mean, look, people are free to stay married if they want to, and they don't. People are free.
Well, I would have to abolish no fault divorce.
I know, but then it's just going to come back it's just going to come back because people will be unhappy, and then they'll rebel against it, and then it'll just come back. So it's better to just find a way to breed without doing that all to begin with. And the way I'm saying that you do that is that instead of marrying necessarily for love, you marry for practical reasons. It could be someone you have sex with. It could be someone you don't have sex with. It could be whatever. You have these polygamous unions. You create these networks of families. You don't all necessarily need to be having sex together. It's like a tribe. And then you reproduce through selective breeding. You have people who you have emotional and physical ties with that are your family. And then you decide on who's going to breed where and when. And that's it. Instead of
that's it. It's so high maintenance. so high maintenance.
Obviously, monogamy is high maintenance enough that 50% of the marriages don't work.
Well, you stigmatize divorce then, because I mean the reason why the West achieved so much was because they stuck with monogamy for all those centuries, and they had people who were relatively sane and organized and could follow orders and do what's expected of them, and instead of the degenerates they are now. They can't even think straight, even they don't even know their own minds. So I mean that's a problem of the individual unit within that group just being unable to do what they're supposed to do because they don't even know who they are. And okay, I know you find all these old-fashioned ways of organizing society to be horribly oppressive, but maybe that's a price it takes. That's a cost of having an orderly
It's
society.
not stable.
We restrain our desires.
Your way has proven to be unstable, and then what happens is people have not been living in and don't have an alternate system. So what they do is they just break down what they don't like, which is monogamy, and then they don't have a system to replace it, and they all want free love because they were denied it, and there's no system in place to reproduce the human race in a good way that is not monogamous. I am saying build a system that allows you to reproduce without monogamy so that there's a system in place so that we can live in free love and not have to go back to monogamy, which we dislike.
Well, Vincent, I'm sure there was a time in human history before people arrived at the idea of marriage. Because what you were talking about, I'm sure happened before people invented marriage. So they were probably having sex with whoever they fancied, who would have sex with them.
Well, no, in the ancient world, it was very few men who had control of harems of women, and it was one man or very few men who would breed with their harems, is the way it was in the most ancient of times.
And it would be very unstable because then then other men who weren't getting any wanted to have sex with their women.
You satiate that by, if homosexuality is allowed to be open, you get as many men get all of these crypto homosexuals out, all these men who are married to women because they're in the closet and all this stuff, get them all out. Just get them all out of the system so that they're not after the women. And then allow the women who are in the polygamous unions with the better men to practice free love. So these men who are kind of like in the middle, who might not be at the top for the breeding program, but they're still attractive and handsome and capable to a certain degree. Maybe they're not the best, but these men could still find satiation through the fact that these women who are involved in these polygamous marriages are allowed to practice free love. And then the men who just couldn't find a woman at all, that's always the same thing. Then you'll have to turn to prostitution. I mean, if you're a man that's not attractive, what are you going to do? I mean, force people to have sex with you? I mean, that's just, I'm sorry, that's the way it is. And undesirable men should not be having children. Only the best.
No, but what do you mean by undesirable? I mean, you
a man that no woman wants. A man that no woman wants.
Is that the same as being unmarriageable?
I guess, yeah, that unmarriageable, like, nobody wants to marry you.
But if you don't want to marry, aren't you unmarriageable in yourself, no matter how attractive and wealthy you are?
Yeah, but we're not talking about that. We're talking, you are bringing up men that want to get access to women. And I'm saying if you're an unattractive man, then there's nothing that can be done about that unless you have prostitution. Which, to be honest, I feel more bad for the women in that situation than the men. But yeah, Hapa said incels don't deserve to breed, and I believe that. All of these incels, all these MGTOW, men going their own way and not interacting with women and not wanting to have kids and going monk, becoming monks, they're all losers. They shouldn't be having kids. I mean, there's plenty of men out there that are very handsome, very intelligent, very successful, and they're not incels. Okay, like they're able to interact with women and get women. I mean, these men who are becoming incels are deficient. They can't attract a woman because their personalities are shit.
Perhaps their personalities are shit because they grew up in fatherless homes.
No, not all of them. Not all of them. They're, I mean, the women don't want them because they're a bunch of, you know,
Losers.
yeah, they're a bunch of losers. They're losers because they want women they want women to kind of like go back to being, well, they want things to go back to the 1950s, right? They want everything to be back in the 1950s. What they really want is they want women to not have an option. They want women not working. They want women not going to college so that they're very dependent. They have to get married if they want to survive. Once they get married, there's really little resources for them to leave, and they can't leave if divorce is illegal. They just want to enslave women. And these are men who cannot get a woman on their own. They want society to be built in such a way. No, you can throw that away. They want society to be built in such a way that women are forced to accept them. That's what they want.
Well, that is arguably supporting marriage, and I'm sure there were plenty of men who maybe didn't want to get married but felt they had to in order to raise their status because they knew that being a bachelor would mean, well, just not getting as high a status as men who are married fathers, and that was a kind of incentive to get people to do the thing that they don't want to do. I'm sure lots of people would think, oh, it's more fun to be the eternal single person having sex with different people that we fancy, and never having the responsibility of children. I'm sure people would kind of agree about that.
Well, I know, but the thing is to change that. I mean, if the natural order is making you unhappy, I mean, we have science, change it. You know what I mean? Just change the natural order. We did it with birth control.
Maybe there's no escape. I mean, that's what I'm putting to you. That there is no escape from human reproduction. And if you're going to have children, you have to bring them up properly.
I know,
or don't have them. But if you don't have them, you won't reach the status.
Polygamy makes it easier.
To be a leader and blah, blah.
Polygamy loosens the load. It makes it easier to raise children. It's not all just on two people. You can share the responsibility and this and that, and
I think the children will just end up being neglected and
with more parents.
Abused. Well, okay. Have you looked at the 36 capital offences of Judaism? Have you looked it up? They're mostly sexual offences. They're mostly incest.
Yes.
So, obviously people even then got horny and they couldn't stop themselves. And I bet the men thought, well, it's better than, having to go out and chat up some woman and having to marry her or pay for the local prostitute. I'll just have sex with the women who are in my, family home, I guess.
No, Claire, because studies have shown, and psychologists and even I believe, that the vast majority of people, when they are raised with someone in a household from a young age, they do not become sexually attracted to them. It's rare for someone to become sexually attracted to their relative as an adult, unless they were separated at a very young age and didn't grow up together, and then it's much more likely. Like they said, there's a problem with parents and children who were separated when they were children, and then when the child finds the parents, the sexual relationship grows up, and they actually think that there is a genetic reason for that. They actually believe that they actually think there's a scientific reason for that, why so many adults, children who were separated, come back together and have sexual relationships. They think there's actually a
genetic attraction. That's the euphemism for incest. I discovered some years ago, to make it make it sound neutral.
Well, but what I'm saying is that most people wouldn't be doing that, and I'm saying that you can use incest without sex. You can use it just through artificial insemination.
Well, it sounds very high maintenance.
Well,
Vincent. I think you
anything that is civilized and advanced is high maintenance.
Well, I suppose people don't want to do it. But
Well,
anyway,
people don't want to stay
I
in
thought it
monogamous
was very
marriages either.
interesting. Oh, okay, can I list the the capital offenses of Judaism?
Okay.
In their variety. So number one, I'm going to count them. There are 36, I think. Intercourse between a man and his mother. 1. Intercourse between a man and his father's wife, not necessarily his mother. 2. 3. Intercourse between a man and his daughter-in-law. 4. Intercourse with another man's wife from the first stage of marriage. I don't know what that means. 5. Intercourse between two men. 6. Bestiality. 7 is the daughter of a priest who completed the second stage of marriage commits adultery. I don't know what that means. 8. Intercourse between a man and his daughter. 9. Intercourse between a man and his daughter's daughter. 10. Intercourse between a man and his son's daughter. 11. Intercourse between a man and his wife's daughter, not necessarily his own daughter. 12. Intercourse between a man and his wife's daughter's daughter. Intercourse between a man and his wife's son's daughter. 14. Intercourse between a man and his mother-in-law's mother. 15. Intercourse between a man and his father-in-law's mother. Okay, so that's 15 out of 36 capital offenses.
Yeah, they're mostly sexual offenses.
Oh, wait, another one. Committing adultery with another man's wife, which does not fall under the above criteria. Okay, so 16. 16 of the 36 capital offenses of Judaism are sexual offenses, which I suggest to you is so they stop getting really stupid, by having sex with each other and producing, children of incestuous unions.
Well, a lot of those had nothing to do with incest. I mean, most of those weren't incest. Most of those were not incest. It was just you weren't daughter-in-law or son-in-law or mother-in-law or anything like that.
Yeah, but the idea is basically that you're not supposed to have sex with anybody who isn't your spouse. So that, and obviously your sibling is not your spouse, and your mother is not yours.
Well, yeah, but you can't make a sibling your spouse. I mean, if you made a sibling your spouse, you would be able to have sex with your sibling, but they made that illegal. It's
because of eugenic reasons. I mean, we know animals don't like, animals kind of know they're not supposed to have incest.
Well,
to practice incest.
But like I said, science trumps nature. If you want to create breeds of humans, yes, you use incest. If you want just random, haphazard, unguided breeding, then don't do incest. If you want to create something and actually sustain a bloodline, then you need to use a little of incest. Yes, that's the way you do it.
According to Vincent.
According to animal breeding.
Well, maybe we shouldn't be subject to these rules of animal breeding because we're not supposed to be bred like that. We have to choose our own partners, and and we have to treat our sex organs with respect and not give it up for anyone.
Well, I don't see why not.
Well, because you're gay, and your whole life is about the next sexual encounter. Maybe
not my whole life. Not my whole life.
Okay, I mean,
I'll talk about other things besides sex.
sometimes.
No, I talk about no hide law constantly.
Yeah, but you're only doing it because you're scared of these laws threatening your sexual access
And
to people
idolatry
you're
and
not
blasphemy.
married to.
And idolatry and blasphemy.
Well, I think it's all part and parcel of the sexual liberation that you wish to preserve for yourself, which is obviously dysgenic, but because you're addicted to the idea of having sex with random people, you're going the other way. You're just trying to make it normal. You're making non-traditional forms of sexual reproduction normal, and you are conducting a very dangerous social experiment, which will lead to further degeneracy. That's all.
Well, I hope for the opposite. I mean, I just want look, gay guys need to stop arranging their closets and need to start arranging the DNA of the human race. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're gonna
Why?
well,
They don't make children, they don't bring up children, so why should any group who wants their society, their group, their tribe, their nation to remain in existence, why should they be going to you for advice? Because you're not interested.
but we should be doing it on our own, despite what you're doing. I mean, we should be
But
doing
they're
it.
not interested. You've already said other gay people say, well, we're not interested in all that. We just want to have sex with each other. Until
I didn't
we
say
can
that.
no longer
I
have
didn't
sex
say
with each other.
I didn't say that. But I haven't even started my gay eugenics campaign yet. I haven't even gotten into that yet. I'm still dealing with too many other things. But I mean, I think the time has come. I mean, everything, has its time and its place. And
Let's define eugenics. I don't think you know the meaning of the word.
eugenics is selective breed. Okay, I just say eugenics is animal breeding. Okay, they say eugenics is a pseudoscience. There's no such thing as superior or inferior. Okay, there's no way to say that something's inferior. That's where it becomes a pseudoscience. But if you're just saying that you can selectively breed humans and get certain types out, then that's true. It's the science of animal breeding applied to humans.
Well, okay. Do you accept that the practice of marriage would have an effect on the quality of the next generation?
Well, yes, I would say it's negative because it's based on two people's emotions and also just their spatial arrangements, who they met in life or who they were closest to or who lived in their town or who they ran into, who they happened to fall in love with. Were they in a good state? Why did they fall in love with this person? Were they having problems in their life and so they selected the wrong person? I mean, no, I think it's a horrible way to breed the human race. I think like just two random people coming together out of the ether, out of the soup, and just mixing is just a horrible way to do it.
Well, if you look at the Jews, you will know that, they have the most restrictive religion. And we already know that 16 of their 33 capital offenses are to do with who they're not supposed to have sex with. So they're very strict. But then Jews are invested with sort of special superhuman divine powers of self-protection. So maybe the strictness of their sexual restrictions has something to do with their survival over such a long time.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I really don't know. I know the Zoroastrians practiced incest, but I really don't think there was ever a society on earth that said, we want to breed certain types of humans, so let's use incest the way we do in animals in order to accomplish it. I really don't think people were sitting around doing this. Is new things that nobody has ever tried before. So we can't go on what other people have done or what's worked for other people because this has never been tried.
Well, eugenics was being tried
Not incestuous,
about this time last century, which is what Hitler was, going for.
Well, they did it wrong. They did it the wrong way. They tried state involvement and they used genocide and they were killing people and doing all the things that turned people against eugenics. They did it wrong.
Well, I think they were doing it wrong because they used non-traditional forms of eugenics, which is what they thought was eugenic, but which has nothing to do with marriage. And I'm saying marriage is the most eugenic practice you can ever think of. The whole idea, particularly in monogamy. And once you get most people prepared to do it, then you get a stable society. And our society is breaking down because nobody's prepared to do that anymore.
Well, hence we need an alternate system. I mean, nobody ever
We
wanted.
just make ourselves do it again.
No, I don't think we should. I think we just need a system.
And by doing that, people like you would actually be able to lead a better life. In that people won't be saying, "Oh, you got to get married because what are you doing, Vincent? Why aren't you doing it for your race?" Because if there are enough married people already breeding, and they can afford to have a few gay people or people who don't want to marry. But if most people are not married parents, and people will just be rounded up and forced to marry each other when people get desperate enough.
No, I'm trying to make the system that I don't want that to happen. I don't want it to all go back to that. So I'm trying to create a system that works with the way of life that I want, and that's what I'm trying to do.
But imagine imagine if law and order were to break down, right? And I mean, then all these airy-fairy ideas would just go out the window.
I know, that's why we need to maintain law and order. It's very important for me to maintain civilized society, because I'm very much aware of the fact that what I'm proposing depends on civilization. What I'm proposing is more delicate. Civilization is delicate, and civilized ideas are delicate. And so I'm very much dedicated to keeping civilization going in a high state. Yes, I'm very dedicated to that, and that needs to be, which is why I'm into eugenics, which is why I'm into selective breeding and genetic engineering, and all these different kinds of things, because you got to stay. The human race has got to stay in shape if we're going to keep all this up. I mean, look, if society collapsed, gay people gay people like me, who are more effeminate and perhaps more delicate, would be in a lot of trouble. Anyone with a more civilized mindset would be in a lot of trouble, because the people who would take over would be the brutes. And,
but at least okay. Wait, were civilization were to break down?
Hold on, I can't hear you. Give me 1 second. I'm doing something. Hold on. What did you say?
So, I'm imagining a situation in which law and order is broken down. So what would be, the most effective way of people helping each other survive? And we go back to the family unit. So I guess the man would think, well, I'm not going to be doing anything for my fellow men. I'd actually rather have sex with a woman, and maybe the possibility of children over whom I would have authority, and that sort of arrangement will become more common, because okay, assuming that most men are heterosexual, they don't want to be living with a bunch of other men. So they would want to have sex with a woman, their own exclusive woman, who will give them children and look after the home and the children and that kind of thing, because it would make sense, and then he would be incentivized to protect his women, his wife and his children. But if he's just sort of one of many incels, then I don't think that would be very stable, because the moment they see a woman, they'll probably gang rape her or something, or what's going to happen? It's a very unstable kind of, with sort of roaming men, single men, just trying to have sex with random women. So you kind of divide society into families, and then everybody will sort of know what they're supposed to do. And the man is supposed to know he's supposed to protect his family and his children, and the woman will know, to be loyal to him, and so he can continue to protect and provide for her. And it kind of makes sense. So that arrangement would be more stable than, random incels trying to, rape women that might stray into their path.
I know, it's like you people just ruin everything. You people just like, if we were all gay men, just everyone could just live in peace and just have sex, and we wouldn't have all these problems.
Yeah, you wouldn't produce the next generation of the human race would die, and
No, but we would practice surrogacy. We would have surrogacy. We would give women all their rights. We would pay them to have our babies. They would be able to have sex with whoever they wanted. Everything would be free. Everything would be perfect.
I think we already have this.
No, we don't have that, because it's getting fucked up because heterosexuals complicate everything, because heterosexual men just can't let their women practice free love. They just can't do what they want.
No, of course not, because they wouldn't want to be saddled with, paying for for their wife's lover's kid.
Well, I know, but
I mean, they probably find dealing with their own kid annoying enough and expensive enough.
It's different. In the age of birth control, it's different. It's different. It's different.
No. In a stable heterosexual patriarchy, we can afford to have a few men be gay, and people won't feel so threatened. It's like, well, it's going to be less competition for.
I know, but you have to force that. Look,
you have to
force that, and look, no, that'll never work, because if you want only a few gay men, then you have to suppress it, because if you do not suppress it, there will be a lot of gay men. If you want only a few and that's it, you have to have some kind of suppression going on.
Yeah, but we will. Just the status would be enough. That married parents would have the higher status, non-parents would come below them, and unmarried parents would be treated as sex offenders. So I guess gay people would be treated as, well, non-parent. So that's fair enough. You're kind of still, equal to, heterosexual unmarried, heterosexual non-parents. So it would still work. I mean, and you can be gay with each other, but you can't marry each other, and you can't have children. But that would also be fair on the heterosexual people who, won't be allowed to have unmarried parents without being lashed 100 times for illegitimate offspring. So it's just nice and easy to understand, and I think this must be the way forward. And still give you space to be your gay self.
Well, I can tell you something right now, Claire. This is none of this is going to be accomplished under secular Quranism, because you give too much free reign. None of this is going to happen under secular Quranism, because the people will vote you out. There's too much free reign. There's too much leading people.
There's not going to be elections.
What?
There's not going to be elections in my one-party state.
How do you even take over? A military coup?
No, I'm just going to put it to people that this is the system. If you want to join politics, join the only party in the land. That there will be, okay, we will occasionally send you, your representative and different candidates, so you can choose which one you want. But it will, they have to support the party policy, So. And so maybe the most sort of charming, party members will get elected, but at least they will be, supposed to be supporting the party policy of secular Quranism.
Well, Claire, I do have to go. I have work. So.
All right then. Well, thanks for dropping by. I'm glad we had this conversation.
Sure. Okay, let me get out of here. How do I get out? Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm leaving. All right, bye.
Bye.